Hello, viewers of the dot. Can you imagine one day that you have a supernatural ability to move from place to place in the blink of an eye? Even go beyond the Doraemon cat because you don't even need the magic door. If you cannot think of it, the dot will help you discover this special ability through the 2008 American fantasy film titled Jumper. Taking on the lead role of the movie is actor Hayden Christensen. Let's see how he plays the role. Let's watch the movie together now. Millie and David are schoolmates together. David noticed that in Millie's locker there are many photos taken in many different cities. Looks like David really likes this girl. In the schoolyard, David presented Millie with a crystal ball. Millie really liked it. But Mark, a friend of them, grabbed the ball and toyed with it. He pretends to return it, but then throws it away. David frantically retrieved the ball while it was lying on a frozen river, despite Millie warning of danger. David picked it up, but he fell into a nearby lake. Millie came running in fear. David struggled but still sank. The schoolyard was panicking over David's sinking, but he was okay. He appeared suddenly at the Ann Arbor local library just a second later. A place very far from school. David stumbled back home. There was a drunk father waiting for him. His mother left when he was 5 years old. The father asked where he went and came home late. David just said that he skipped school and went to his room. His father got angry in the room to find he disappeared again. David has now moved to another library, which has been blocked off. Then, while trying to get out, he was back in his own room. As for Millie, she is in pain because she thinks that David has been missing after the accident. However, he went to her house to return the snowball. David wanted to tell her his truth, but he hesitated. He needs to clarify everything first. David decided to move out alone to explore his special ability. He wanted to find a way to master it, but at first he failed miserably. David needs money to be able to live on his own. He decided to go to the bank to find out about the path and location of everything before acting. David returns to his room to prepare items for the money theft trip with his teleportation. That way, he brought back to his room a lot of money that no one could find out. However, the next day the theft was discovered. An employee of the National Security Agency arrives at the investigation scene. They realized that there were no fingerprints left, even the thief did not need to unlock the door. The security staff requested to review the video footage of the past month and the owner's list of the storage boxes to find the suspect. But they found nothing. David succeeded in getting used to his innate ability and manipulating it. And then he grew up with it. Now he has become a grown man. Thanks to the ability to teleport quickly, David can go anywhere he wants. Night drinking in London, morning windsurfing in the sea, and then sunbathing and eating hamburger in Egypt. The movie switches to a scene in the forest. There are 3 guys chasing the other. The security officer investigating the bank theft every year was there. He drew a knife and stabbed to death a man hanging from a tree. Then he received a phone call. A reporter believes there is a clue to that theft. After walking around, David returned to his room to find the name of the security guard there. He told him to wait to run away. He found you for 8 years. He told him that he was not the police who came here to arrest him, but wanted to ask why he could break in without touching the other door. David didn't want to answer and was about to teleport when he stabbed him with an electric bat. The high voltage current makes David's brain unable to focus and move. The security guard continued to shock and beat him. He wants him to say it all. David escapes into a secret room. Cut off the power supply from the body. He promptly took everything before he teleported back to his home. The sound made his father startled to run up to find his son. The father asked why he could go home at any time and even asked if he was crazy. David says he wasn't crazy and then teleports away. As for the security guard, his name is Roland. It seems that he is not the real police but works for a secret organization. He discovered David's teleportation ability and called to call more people. From the classroom of David, Roland found a photo of Millie, whom David liked from school. Meanwhile, David is looking to Millie's house to ask how she is doing. Millie's mother is surprised because David is not dead yet. She told David her daughter was working at a pub near the school. David went to the pub but just watched Millie from afar. He did not intend to see her face to face. While preparing to leave, he meets Mark, who threw the old snowball that made everyone think that David was dead. Mark held his feet and didn't want David to leave. At the same time, Millie appeared. Seeing him again, she smiled happily. Mark had gotten drunk and played with Millie. David angrily hit Mark once. 2 people grappling with each other. David uses teleport, dragging the 2 to a deserted place. Mark is scared and calls David a monster. Then he left him and left. David goes back to the pub to meet Millie and says that Mark is far from coming. She said that she would bandage him. Millie asked what he was going to do next. David said he wanted to travel. going to Rome in the near future because he knew that Millie liked it very much. Just like that, they went to Rome together at David's suggestion. Right now, Roland was looking for Millie. He went to the police station and pretended to interview Mark. David was left behind and was released by the police. Thus, Roland knew that the two had just arrived in Rome. Millie was in a first-class hotel. She asked David if he was lying to her, but he confirmed that he was working at the bank. Millie asked nothing more. She was happy with that. They began walking in Rome on the streets and squares. But when the time came, the time was up, the guards wouldn't let him in. David used the door-opening teleport to bring Millie inside. At this time, only 2 people were visiting. There was a restricted area. David told Millie to wait while he was going around to open it. While leaving alone, David encounters a teleporter like him. Then David met 2 more strangers. They are known as divine warriors, whose goal is to destroy people with special abilities like David and his new friend. Those 2 pursuers, they caught guns and through wires tied David up. Meanwhile, the same guy has the same ability as him to master teleportation to rescue himself and relieve David. However, the war also alarmed the square staff. They are reporting to the police. David returned to find Millie and quickly took her out of the square. They cannot stay there. Just outside, the police grabbed David into the car. He told Millie to hurry back to the hotel and wait for him. David was back at the police station for a while. Suddenly his mother appeared and gave him the keys and told him to escape, and to leave Millie behind. David was surprised, but he quickly left and did not forget to bring Millie. Arriving at the airport, Millie felt something more and more strange about David. She asked him what was in his backpack. He had no choice but to open her backpack for her to see. In the backpack is full of money. David said he could no longer go with her. He left Millie on the plane alone. Meanwhile, Roland went to David's house and met his father. He asked for information about him and his mother. However, David's father has long lost contact with her, ever since she left, leaving David for him. As for David, he went to the person he met in the plaza to ask everything. His name is Griffin. Griffin explained to David that divine warriors destroying teleporting souls began in the Middle Ages. And the root cause is from witch hunters. They will even kill the families and friends of the teleporters. Brainless, David returned home to look for his father, but his father lay unconscious on the floor. Immediately, he performed the teleportation ability to bring his father to the hospital but was unable to make it in time. He immediately remembered Mark and came to find him. But he found out that someone else had done this to his father and not Mark. David frantically went to Griffin's place to hope to borrow something from him and went to find Roland to talk, but Griffin stopped him. He won't be able to fight Roland. David wants the 2 to join together, but Griffin doesn't think they can. Saying that, Griffin left, not wanting to go with David. First the desert, then China and Tokyo. David was able to find him easily. Ultimately, David convinced Griffin. One thing they have in common is the special ability. They need to do something to escape the pursuit of the Roland group. Griffin led David to ride a car to prepare for action. Together they went to the airport to pick up Millie because she was in Roland's line of sight. David and Griffin will be a Marvel team with the mission to kill Roland and save Millie safely. But they did not expect Millie's flight to land an hour earlier. David went to the pub to look for Millie when he was told that Roland had just come looking for her. David moves to Millie's house, but she is still mad at him and kicks him out of the house. Outside, Roland's crowd was coming up to her house. David was forced to tell the truth about him to Millie. Then, he used teleportation to take her out of the house. Then he took her to Griffin's place. Griffin saw that Millie was furious. He tells David that the Holy Warrior will detect his teleportation and keep it open. They will be here to arrest him. After that, Griffin teleported away. According to Griffin's words, Roland followed the line of teleportation to Griffin's place. David, Griffin and Roland fought fiercely. One side has heavy weapons. One side has superhuman teleportation. David saw Millie in danger and threw a blow like heaven, making Roland fly away. Griffin teleports away and when he returns, carries a car and drives straight into Roland, but he is not dead. The 2 sides continued to fight with each other. Griffin decided to move him to a building and left him there. Meanwhile, Millie rescues the tied David. She said she just wanted him to quickly bring her back. At that moment, Griffin returned to Millie and David, but Roland followed closely behind. He quickly pulled Millie away to take hostage. Now Griffin is holding the detonator and will let Roland's building explode, including Millie. David of course disagrees. He chases with Griffin to retrieve the detonator. They chase each other everywhere. In the end, David chose to lock Griffin on a high-voltage pole and take the detonator to save Millie. David goes into the building to save Millie but is bound by Roland with high-voltage wires. He asked Roland why. The teleporters are harmless. He said it was because it wasn't time they could do any harm and then drew a knife to kill him. David had no other choice, he concentrated on moving the building. Finally he did. The whole building was thrown into the river. David interrupted the current. He and Millie moved together to a library. Roland also appeared there. This time, David left Millie behind and teleported Roland to take them both to a desert. David said that he could let the shark bite him, but he did not. Then David left, leaving him on the cliff in the vast wilderness. From now on he would be imprisoned there, and in the end the war was over. David went to his mother's house to inquire about everything. She turned out to be a holy warrior. When he was 5 years old, she discovered his ability. Either kill him or walk away. But out of love for her children, she chose to leave. The two hugged each other tightly. His mother said that now he had a fresh start. Leaving her mother's house, Millie was waiting for him. The two of them held hands and they both teleported away and disappeared. Together they will start a sweet new life. Through this story, it is not so good to understand that possessing something so special like David is not necessarily good. Anything in the world has a price to pay. The movie here is the end. See you in the next movies.